All right, Wolf Empire, let me do a technical overview of the market. So I'm just going to take you through the process that I go through when I'm looking at technicals the day before the market opens up. And so I'm just going to pretty much show you kind of what I look at. So the first thing you want to always look at is futures, right? You want to see kind of what futures is looking like, um, taking note of where we're coming from or where we can possibly go. Right now, I'm looking at NQ. And this is the NASDAQ futures. So if you're a person that's new to the stock market and you're used to trading like QQQ, right? Or if you just trade the NASDAQ in general, um, so you want to look at futures because futures will kind of show you levels that need to be broke, key support levels. So when we're looking at NQ right now, so when I'm pulling out, I'm gonna set my first candle on my chart to this candle over here that's started this order block. And so now, so we can look at this volume profile that I have over here. And we see that when the stock market was selling off last week on Friday, this candle right here, look where it happened to come down and bounce from. You see how this volume on this volume profile is sticking out, and it's saying that it's a concentration of buyer activity historically at this level, right? And so it came all the way down and it just swept liquidity down here. And you see they put their money back in the same area that they pushed up and they bounced off of this area before to push up when they pushed NASDAQ or the NQ futures to all-time highs. It came right back down to that level and where the volume is concentrated at. And they grab liquidity and push back up. Currently, the prices hasn't come back up to test the 12 cloud. It's expanded a little bit. So it's going to be a little resistance when you come up to the 12 cloud and this WTMA cloud and this actual green moving average right here, which is our wolf trend moving average. And so it's going to push up. So you're going to run into traffic once you get up in this 25,700 range. And so we're going to be looking for a rejection up in that range or maybe a liquidity sweep of like 25,900 and then probably a rejection back down. And so you also want to drop down and look at the 4 hour time frame to kind of check out where we're sitting at. Like right now, you see how we have this cloud, this WTMA cloud expanded. So it's going to give us a little, it's going to be kind of creeping up through here, probably like Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday is probably going to be trying to creep through here, but we can also see that we're about to come and face an order block right here. So, like I said, that 25.9 area is an area where I'll be looking at, looking at even the bulls to take profit if we push above that level, just off of the good news that we got so far about the government shutdown, maybe possibly ending if they come to some agreements, bipartisan agreements with the bill they're trying to pass. And if they go ahead and pass it and Trump signs it, they'll be trying to slowly push it up through this traffic, what I'm saying, pushing toward that news. But this is a liquidity sweep area. So you want to mark that level out on your chart and make sure that you have, keep your head on tight and pay attention to where we are. Because once it crosses over this 25,880 level, is high chance it's going to push up wick maybe into this trend line here, create a wick like it's going to push up aggressively, but then it's going to probably yank it back down and sell off back into this block because it's going to be the first test of that order block after this sell off that we just recently had. So you want to pay attention to that. Now let's look at the weekly chart and see what we're looking like on a weekly basis. From a weekly perspective, to me, it sets us up again. Like we might push up and come and grab liquidity around these areas that it's at right now. But it's not good to get this open and close candle under the WTMA. Um, it just seems like more like we're gonna push up, grab liquidity, but it's going to take some real, I'll say, fundamental type of data, some real good economic data, some real data that makes sense for inflation the economy, to push us back, to all-time highs in a sustainable way. All right, so right now they might be playing games and pushing it up and let us kind of grab liquidity, but we want to make sure that they're not trying to ultimately exit out of the trade. Because we have a similar candle to like right here when we got an open and close candle, and then we consolidated a little bit and pushed back, had a deeper pullback, and so we just want to make sure that they're not just setting us up, for like a overall having a pullback anyway, right? And so we want to pay attention to that. Let's look at ES. ES is in the same boat. We got an open and close candle under here, and it's going to, right now is not the best setup, not the best case scenario to have a arc candle under the WTMA. However, we drop down to the lower time frames, off of this news that they may be reopening the government. They may push it up toward that news, but it does have a high chance of having a sell the news type of thing that happens because that data that we haven't gotten yet, we don't know if that data is going to be good data or bad data. So we just want to make sure that we let that data come out. We don't overplay our hand. We don't think that just because the market's pushing up and the government's going to reopen that means that all your long dated swings and all your leaps and stuff like that. That means that's the green light for everything just to go up, because it's not. We've been avoiding reality for a minute now, not getting any economic data, uh, not being able to truly see what inflation is, not being able to truly see a lot of things. But if that data comes out and it's positive and it's good, we can scream up higher in a sustainable way. But smart money tends to like to wait on that data to be realistic and real first before they start dumping money back into a market that's already near all-time highs. So we see that ES is down here. We're still under the 12 cloud, but you can see that on the volume profile if we line it up correctly. Once the price gets back above like this area that's currently above right now in futures, you're going to run into the dynamic resistance of the 12 EMA, SMA, WMA, and this wolf trend moving average in the cloud. But from a volume perspective, like, it's empty. That's why we were able to push up the first time, really aggressive in this range, and that's why we was also able to drop once we broke under 6,886. We was able to drop really quick because there's no volume here. And so when we see these empty nodes over here, this what sets up for A plus trades, right? So on a daily time frame, we can really push up, and hit these higher levels from the futures, and that just transitions over into what SPY is going to do, um, and things like that. So you see how on SPY, and we see ES, right? ES looks very similar to SPY, right? But you can see in the futures market, it has that same drop in that wick, but futures have kind of gapped up and started pushing up. So we pushed all the way down here and pushed up toward the end of the market on Friday, but then futures has us pushing up, in a positive territory. So we can expect that SPY, if futures keeps pushing up, we can expect SPY to kind of push up as well. Um, if you saw my previous video, this entire drop, I didn't trust to move up. I signaled that smart money had abandoned their positions and the market is about to drop down. And I also signaled that once we broke 672, 671, these liquidity levels, it was going to drop really quick. And I also told you guys earlier in the week that when we start dropping, once we broke this level up here at 678, once we start dropping, it's going to be one of those drops where you think it's over with, but then they're going to keep pushing you down, and then you're going to think it's over with again and try to buy the dip, and they're going to push you down even further. And so that's why I was marking these lower levels down here around 665, 664, and even deeper than that, because I know that once we got inside of this wolf trend moving average, they were trying to put in a lower high, right? And they have successfully put in a lower high so far, and that's all that's happened. So from a technical perspective, we're still in a bull trend. Don't get it twisted because we had a pullback. We're still in a healthy bull trend. What would change that is if we come down and spot starts closing under 652. We start closing trading day or closing the trading day under that. That's when you can look for us to start dropping back down to like 640, 638, maybe coming back down all the way to test the 200 cloud. That's a worst case scenario, deep correction if that happens. But we have catalysts on the table right now with them reopening the government. If that data floods in bad and they start getting revisions of certain data points that we didn't have access to for over a month, and you got to think about it, we just been pushing up for over a month without getting any data. If that data comes in really bad, what I'm saying, we SPY realistically can come down and test like 638 and stuff like that. If that data comes in good, we can see the WTMA come down, hit an inverse arc, grab some liquidity at 678 on a pullback if it pops above that level, and then rush to 700. And that we can have like a Santa Claus rally scenario. I didn't like last week that the consumer data came in worse than expected. So that's not good running into like Black Friday and things like that. But, it remains to be seen how they're going to play the market this week and how the government shutdown will impact it if the data is good. Now, if the data is bad, we know they're gonna try to drop this market down some more. All right. So the other thing that I like to look at, other than futures, is you want to come in and look at some of the stocks that ended Friday green. Which ones did they rush in and buy up? And you can see Meta was one, right? They rushed back into SPY and pushed it up. I was really surprised to see how Intel held up during that crash. So you want to go through your list of stocks and see which companies got money rushed back into them. Coinbase got money rushed back into them. They actually ended the day with a liquidity sweep of the daily time frame. So they came down, grabbed liquidity, tested the 200 cloud, and pushed up. Um, we look at I was shocked that Dell didn't push back up higher than it did. But you see Nvidia, I know they have earnings this week. They pushed down, came down to some order blocks, and bounced back up pretty aggressive. They pulled all the way down to 179 and pushed all the way back up almost $10, right? And so stocks like that, you want to look at these stocks, especially stuff like Meta. Meta did good trying to push back up. It pushed down to this level. I was waiting on it to come down, at least down to like this 597 level and grab some liquidity up in here. But it did. If you're looking at your wolf chart, it came down and bounced where it's supposed to on a historical support level. So it pushed down straight to this thick historical support level. It's not out the woods yet. You know what I'm saying? We're under the 200 still. We're far away from the 12. The WTMA has almost made it down here for an inverse arc. So we'll be waiting on that to get aggressive, but I still would like to see Meta push down and grab some liquidity right under 600 and to really get that catalyst to push back up because it is already oversold. But I'm gonna keep my eye on Meta. I have one position on Meta so far, but I'll be looking to add some more if they remain strong. Um, Intel, let's look at them on a weekly chart. So I think this might have been the news that the reason why Intel was just kind of sitting rock solid, um, and why everything else was tanking. You got to think about it. Um, if we look at them on a daily time frame, they've dropped from this level here. They dropped from like 42 and pulled back, but they're actually really solid. And so you need to really keep your eye on them. They got some news here that Intel is in talks with Tesla for AI chip factory. That's a big deal. Can bring in a lot of income and set them up. Uh, I like their chart a lot, and so if they do pull back under $35 under this order block and sweep liquidity right here on a daily time frame, I'll be very interested in buying long dated contracts. And even if they just pull back a little bit or consolidate here and get a fresh inverse arc, I'll be interested in playing them up to $45. And so let's see. If we come and look at the 4 hour chart on Intel, it has come down in the WTMA is trying to create an inverse arc here. But again, you look at your volume profile, you see how we're sticking out and it's coming down and it's consolidated beautifully on this volume profile and this order block. Gave the WTMA enough time to come down. It's almost completed the inverse arc. The 12 cloud is almost sitting down in its lap. I would like to see it a little bit more thin, but if we can mount above this 12 cloud, it looks good to run back up to like the 42 level and test this trend line in this WTMA cloud. But it's starting to kind of look like a chart that I'm really interested in playing. The uptrend is really solid. When it pulled back, when everything else pulled back, somebody see when I see stuff like this just tells me that somebody with a lot of money knows something that we don't know because it's pulled back, but it hadn't pulled back a lot, right? And if you look at their earnings, so they're doing decent on earnings. They beat top and bottom on this last earnings, so that's good. Let's look at them on a 1 week chart. You can see they pushing up. They closing candles inside that WTMA, but we also got the 12 cloud crossing over the 200 cloud. If they can push and open, they need to start trying to open and close candles back around $40 to get a retest of this order block up here. They got a huge test in front of them. They have so much sell pressure. The level I'll be interested in them coming up to the sweep liquidity will most likely be around that $50 mark. They can push up and push slightly above 52. That will be a good take profit area. We can also see in the chart that they got a lot of work to do, right? So they got a lot of work to do to get back to all-time highs. Them making partnerships with companies like Tesla. Tesla is the type of company that can go in from a production side and reorganize Intel in a way that Intel's never seen before. Elon Musk's strongest uh, skill set to me is the way he can mass produce things and organize companies to mass produce products. So working with him, I think, is to be a good opportunity for them. We're playing in a huge range with Intel. You see how they were stuck in this little box down here, and just historically, you see how once they break inside of this range, they make those crazy $10, $13 moves, which is abnormal for a company or a stock like Intel to make. But they tend to make these moves every once in a while, right? And so what I'm looking for them to do is to break and at least test that $50 level eventually. But they're first going to have to break through those 40s, and eventually I'm looking for them to come back up to this level, especially with them beating earnings, top and bottom the way they did. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't think they had a beat like that in a while, especially on EPS. That's the earnings per share. So they did good, what I'm saying, on beating expectations. So they deserve to. I feel like they deserve to get up in this range again. Let's look at what they have them valued at. So they have the 1 year price target, kind of have them priced as a fair value in the top price range. They put them in is like at $52. So getting to that $42, $44 and eventually tapping that $52 range, especially if they get the partnership with Tesla, I think it'll be good for them. Another stock that was green and ended strong was let's see, Coinbase. Let's look at their chart and see what's going on with them. So I like Coin. Bitcoin has a decent amount of momentum right now. During the market, doing right now, I'm saying as the market is ticking up, Bitcoin is bouncing out of a support level. And so it's looking like it's going to try to push back up to like 110, 109, right? And so it with a push like that, it can help Coinbase to push up a decent amount. Another thing I like about Coinbase from a long call perspective, especially if the market settles out and we have good news, is that Coinbase, I think next earnings, so this earnings was okay, right? But I think next earnings is when they're going to make their money because they've expanded so much with these other partnerships and regulations easing. So I think this is a stock you definitely want to keep your eye on. I have a lot of liquidity map levels on here, so this chart isn't as clean as I would like, but that's how some of the drawings. So we look at coin. One thing we did get, so this is a good indicator that the stock is ready to try to move in an aggressive way. It ended on the 3-day chart. Well, the 3-day chart hadn't ended yet. So let's get this another day. If we end on this piercing candle, that's extremely bullish. You rarely see these reversals with a piercing candle. So if they end the 3-day candle with that, that's a really, really bullish sign. We had a piercing candle back here on their 3-day chart, and we came here, consolidated for a while, got a piercing candle, and it went on that bull run. So I'm gonna be watching them close. You can see how once it breaks back above this point of control, Coinbase, the volume kind of slides down, which means that as it breaks and goes higher, the move even higher gets even easier because of how this volume profile is set up on that stock. So I'm gonna be keeping a close eye on them as well. So we're going to be looking tomorrow at Meta, Coin, and Intel, or this week. I'm going to keep my eye on those three. Those are some picks that I'm looking at. I like their charts. What you want to do with those three is if you're in the Wolf Empire and you have access to my technology, you want to go ahead and utilize Shon-TheWolf AI and do a top-down analysis of your charts. And once you get finished with the trade plan, ask for a trade plan for upside, and in case your stop loss gets triggered, already have the plan for the downside already written out. That way you can know when it's time to move on puts. And you just play it the same way. Play it like the trade plan says. And so you want to get a trade plan for calls and for puts. That way you make sure you're covering yourself. And so Meta, Intel, and Coin, try to knock out the trade plans for that. My trade plans will be in the Discord. You can go in and what you want to look at is my trade plans, and you will see, what I'm saying, some stuff I'm calling out, like we did with Google. You'll also see kind of the stocks that I'm in and the results. Like I had SPY here. We had a decent day on SPY. Um, had a decent day. We were just on the 4th. So I didn't trade on Friday, as most of you all noticed in the Discord, but had a good win on the 4th. And we just been killing it in the Discord. This was on the 5th, the next day, made 4,000. So ended the week around like 23. And so we just want to keep on pay attention to these when I'm getting to a play. When I say add coin to watch and things like that. So this was on the 4th, and coin was down at 309 or so. When I say add something to your watch list, I think it came down. I put it on watch for a liquidity sweep because I knew it was going to drop lower. Um, when you see that, you want to go ahead and do a top-down analysis of it. If you can't do the top-down analysis and you're still learning, all you have to do is take a screenshot of your daily time frame, 4-hour time frame, 1-hour time frame, and put it in Shon-TheWolf AI, Black Wolf, and then it's going to come out with a trade plan for you, right? And so if you look at this on the 4th, I said do add coin to sell side liquidity sweep. A sell side liquidity sweep, if we look at that play, sell side means it's going to pull back, and I had this 302, 297, 277 levels on here. That means that it's going to pull back and grab liquidity under. It's going to pull back, and you're going to see price drop or candles drop under this green order block or so, or down in this range, and then it'll push back up. And so if we go look at coins live chart for the daily time frame, you'll see that I put that signal in, right? And look what happened with coin price. It pushed all the way down, came all the way down to 288. And so I said, put coin on sell side liquidity watch on. This was on what, the fourth, on this candle right here. And that means that it's going to push down and come under this order block, right? And as you see, this was on the fourth on this candle right here, right? So this is all the way on the fourth. I say put coin on your watch list, basically for puts pulling you down all the way under this order block. And then once it got under that order block, it was going to sweep liquidity. Buyers are going to step in and push it back up. And you can see that the signal came here. We dropped from this signal price range of 315 all the way down to 284, right? Then what happened? The sell side liquidity sweep happened. Price pushed down slightly under it. Buyers popped in under here at the 200 and pushed it all the way back up from 283 all the way up to 209, right? That's a lot of money. And that's the type of signals I'm putting out if you understand what I'm putting out there on the table, right? So if I say add coin to your watch for a sell side liquidity sweep, that means that I'm expecting it to push under the green zone, buyers to step in and push it back up, right? Same thing I did for Meta. I said on the fourth, add Meta to your top down list. It's getting close to a sell side liquidity sweep, right? So we add Meta. That was on the fourth. We go back and look at Meta for the fourth, right? And we push down, right? So Meta price dropped from the fourth. It dropped from this candle where it had the order block at 626. It pushed all the way down to 601, right? Now Meta actually closed under this order block. So it may or may not be ready to push back up, but it did lose its order block, but it's sitting in one on the weekly time frame, which means that it still has a decent amount of buyers sitting here. So it's not going to be easy to push Meta down much further unless some bad news comes out. So it's looking good in this current range. So it pushed down through the order block, but the weekly time frame has a very strong order block. Let's check the higher time frame to see how good it's looking on the higher time frame. So on the 2-week, buyers are sitting at 480. And on the 1 month, you're sitting at the WTMA cloud, and you have a bearish arc on the 1 month. So it'll be dependent on buyers to hold this 1 week level. But I think they will hold it. And I think Meta will at least try to push back into 700 or push at least to the center of this bearish order block before they try to take it down any further. When you have your moving averages that far away from price, they tend to like to let the moving averages come down, and you can at least reject from it and then drop further. So we'll be looking for that on Meta. It hadn't done a sweep of 573 yet. That's another opportunity that it might come down and push back up. But for now, I think that buyers will try to use this opportunity to push back up to 646 or try to get it as high as 690 or to reject off of these moving averages if they start coming down before they try to lose this level. But that's all I got for tonight. Study this video. You can check it out first thing in the morning or check it out tonight and look at the Intel, Meta, and Coin. Make sure you do your top-down analysis on it. Before I leave, let me just take a quick glance at Tesla to see what they're doing on the charts. They've come down and tested the 12 cloud. They swept liquidity on the WTMA. Let's look at them on a daily time frame. So when I'm looking at Tesla, just from eyeballing it, they have to hurry up and get back over 450. Hanging out in this current range right here. You see how empty this volume profile is right here on Tesla? Let's pull it out some more and see what we got. Yeah, so Tesla is sitting in a range to where if it keeps breaking down, say the 12 cloud gets under the bottom half of this WTMA cloud, it's not in a good position because it can pull back very quickly under 400. to close this gap right here. So the for a bullish scenario, it needs to push up and consolidate closer to 450 and let this inverse arc come in and let it push higher, because it is coming down and it's not making, too many, like, it hadn't had to change a clear character or made a lower high. So, I mean, a lower low. But if it keeps hanging out in this range, it has a easy opportunity to come down to like 395. So you want to keep your eye on Tesla above 450, 460. That's the trigger. So especially if it starts opening, closing candles above 460, that's to me is bullish. But for now, it needs to rush and get back over 450. But that's all I got. Y'all check me out in the Discord, and I'll be looking to work with y'all some more.